Hello and welcome to this webinar, the second in our September Sales Strategy series. This time we are looking at community networking strategies. I'm your moderator, Jenny Alton from the New York Small Business Development Center Central Office. Today you will hear briefly from Deana Jean, founder of the Success Tribe Network, and then our main presentation will be by Shanel Evans, co-founder of Fire Savvy, business advisor and marketing coach. This webinar is brought to you by the New York Small Business Development Center network of 20 campus-based centers and many more outreach offices located across New York State, along with the central office based in Albany. The NYSBDC is a U.S. Small Business Administration resource partner. Our free education, advising, research, and advocacy services are made possible by funding from the SBA, New York State, and our host campuses. So you know this session is being recorded. We will share a link to the recording and slides with attendees in the next few days in a follow-up email. Attendees are muted and will not be on camera today. Your chats will only be visible to me and our presenters. If you have any questions during the presentation, please don't hesitate to type them in the Q&A box as they come up. You can open Zoom's Q&A box from the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window. We'll take some pauses for questions during the presentation and address more questions at the end. And with that, I will turn the time over to Deana.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, SBDC. Good afternoon. We're already in the afternoon on a Monday, a good Monday at that. So welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time. Welcome back to all of you who joined last week as we talked about how do you stand out in a networking situation? How do you stand out online? How do you stand out in a way where you can get connected to more people who will help you to be able to accomplish your goals as a business owner and more people that you can help? And I'm excited because last week we talked a lot about how to get noticed. How do you make sure that you can connect with people in a way that matters? And today, I am very excited that I have the opportunity to introduce someone who I have really, really grown to know, appreciate, respect, and really value the expertise that she brings to the table. Shanel Evans is here today, and Shanel is going to be talking all about becoming a local superstar. How do you make sure that the relationships that you have built in the communities where you have chosen to do and create these businesses, how do you show up as a superstar in those areas in a way that you can always be serving, in a way that every time you step into the coffee shop or wherever you are, that people know your name and that they see you as the go-to expert in the area? So of course, y'all know that because we're in a webinar style right now, we cannot see your faces. Please, in the chat, if you are excited about becoming a local superstar, just put a yes inside of the chat. And I am going to pass it over to Shanel. She's going to give you all of the amazing details on all of the things. I'm not even going to give the full intro because let me tell you, Shanel has receipts upon receipts upon receipts. Just know you want to make sure that you have your pen and your paper together because she is going to help us understand how we can be local superstars. I'm passing it to you, Shanel.
Awesome. Thank you, Deana. And if you were not in attendance last week with Deana's chat, I highly encourage, not that you need it for this talk, except I do want you to go back and watch it at some point. Go back and register. I believe you can still watch it on replay because what we're going to be talking about today pairs so perfect with being able to stand out, not only in your local community, not only locally online, but how do you actually start to accelerate that know, like, and trust so that your networking is actually working for you? And so I see that Sarah's here. She's excited. Jessica's excited. Kay Persu, I think I pronounced your last name correctly. You are excited. Lisa excited. I get excited when I hear your questions. And so this is not Shanel's TED Talk where I'm going to stand up here and talk for an hour straight. I want to hear from you. You know, we feed off of your energy. We feed off of your questions. So I want to make sure that we are and I want to make sure that you're listening too. So you got the benefit of not being on camera, but I do want you to engage. So we're going to talk today about local fruits, digital roots. How do you turn your local in-person experiences into digital currency? How do you take those local relationships, that local influence that you're building, and turn it into social media capital for you? Right. So let's jump right on in, because I want to make sure again that we got questions. And I also want to thank New York Small Business Development Center for bringing you resources like this, because it's not every day that you get to hear and experience new ideas, new ways of thinking. You know, most of us, we're scrolling on our feed and hoping that we got some good information. So I wanted to jump, but let's jump right on in. So if this is you, drop me a 1 in the comment that you want more influence and you want to expand your client base. Who doesn't want that, right? Drop a 1 if that's you. Or if you feel like, you know what, I'm pretty active on social media. I am pretty active on social. I am, you know, I'm engaging, I'm doing the thing, I'm showing up consistently, but I feel like I'm talking to the same people over and over again. If that's you, drop a 2 in the chat. Or you might be like, you know what? I'm doing pretty decent. You know, everybody else is talking about, you know, a decline in sales. Everybody else is talking about 2024, but even it doing well in your business, you recognize you've hit a revenue ceiling and you want fresh ideas to engage your timeline and engage your audience. If that's you, drop me a 3 in the chat. All right, so we got a little bit across the board. All right, so if you dropped a 1, 2, or 3, you are in the right place at the right time. So I'm going to share with you 3 secrets on how to tap into your local roots, and turn that into an expanded client base. And here's the thing, like I get it. You know, you have over the past probably 5 years, the business online space is literally like the wild, wild west. You know, the marketing tactics that we use, even just a year ago, 2 years ago, they don't quite resonate anymore. You might start feeling like you are, you know, talking to the same people over and over again. Or you're like, look, I'm showing up online and I am talking and engaging and being consistent, but they're not my people. I don't think that the people that I'm currently attached to online are my dream clients. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you is not just something that, you know, is theory or something that like I've just heard. This is literally something that I put into place into my business. So let me back up just a little bit. So 2022, you know, well, 2020 launched my social media agency. And it grew by leaps and bounds. As you can imagine, people really needed a way to be able to connect with their dream clients during the pandemic and be able to accelerate their revenue growth. And so my social media agency like took off. You know, I was able to meet people like Deana. I was able to grow my business to multiple 6 figures. And then I decided to add in a new revenue stream. And I did that with adding more coaching and retreats. And that piece, which we call Fire Savvy, has blown up. So skyrocketed sales, you know, from pretty much, to be honest, a warm audience, people that knew me, people that had heard of me, people that liked me online. But then when I was like, okay, it's time to go out into a cold market, because how many of you know that talking to people that like you already is not necessarily that hard of a sale? You know, they like you, they want to work with you, they just waiting for the next offer, right? And I had gotten to the place where my warm audience, they were on fire, no pun intended, but they were on fire. They were on fire for the offers that I had. But then once it started time to start reaching people that I didn't know, I was like, it's crickets. It's taking longer. The buying cycle feels like it's longer than it was 2 years ago. And so I want to make sure that, like I get it. I get that sometimes that what you thought you said a year ago doesn't quite work the same as it does today. What you posted a year ago doesn't quite hit your audience the same. They want more. They want to be able to know you're a real person. They want to know your values, and they want to know and really get to the heartbeat of, why do you do what you do? What are you passionate about? And so tapping into your local market and accelerating that know, that like, the trust is a game changer in your business. It's been a game changer for me. So I want you to, sit for just a moment, and I want you to pop in the chat. 6 months from now, what does that look like for you in your business? Does that look like, selling more of your high-end coaching programs? Does it look like, opening and expanding your current business? Does it look like, hosting retreats and being able to sell those out? I want you to just really think about and put your dream hat on, because sometimes we get in our comfort zone and we get afraid to dream. But I want you to put your dream hat on and pop in the chat. 6 months from now, what would we be celebrating? 6 months from now, we will be, well into, the new year. What are we going to be looking back and saying, yes, I did it? That's what I want you to focus on today. So let's dig in. So imagine, 6 months from now. And so here's the thing, the things that I'm gonna be sharing with you today, you literally can start to implement them immediately. I'm all about fast action, but I'm all about making sure that you have something that you can walk away with action. So before we get into the secrets, Deanna briefly introduced me, Jenny briefly introduced me. Let me tell you who I am. My name is Shanel. I'm co-founder of Fire Savvy. I'm a business advisor and marketing consultant. And with Fire Savvy, I work with service-based professional service entrepreneurs as well as organizations, and help them smash through their revenue ceilings and attract more of their dream clients. And I do that in 3 primary ways. I look at clients' offers, because sometimes the expertise that we've packaged doesn't really attract that level of client that we want. I look at people's social media timeline and how they're showing up, how they're messaging, how they are attracting their dream clients, or are they repelling their dream clients? And then I take a look at your sales skills and be able to, now that you've done what Deanna has told you and gotten into those, those networks, now that today you're going to walk away knowing how to be a local superstar. When you get on the phone and have a sales conversation, I walk clients through how to be able to do that. So Rebecca says 6 months from now, she's going to have 2 full-time employees on her team, bringing in those opportunities. I love it. Mr. B says he hasn't started his auto business yet, but in 6 months, yes, he will have networked for sure, to make it happen. All right. So let's talk about secret number 1. Secret number 1, and I am going to pop this and do a quick little share. And don't worry about like taking a zillion notes. You'll have the opportunity at the end. I'll make sure that you have access to the slide. So let me just pop these out so at least you can hear and see all at the same time. All right. So secret number 1.
We can't see your screen, Shanel.
Can't see my screen. I shared it, but I didn't share it. Hang on 1 second. Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
There we go. All right. We should be in good shape right now, right?
Correct.
Okay. If you're looking, don't look at my tabs. Don't do it. Don't do it. I already have enough judgment from my daughter. So don't look at the number of tabs. It's a method to my madness, right? So let's jump into, secret number 1, when you want to pair and maximize your local influence and build an engaging, a thriving social media network and be able to reach a new audience, is I want you to think of your local community And I want you to think about an in-person association or organization. I want you to choose an organization that has an active local presence and an online community. So this could be an organization like your local chamber. This could be an organization like, National Association of Women Business Owners. It might even be an industry-based organization. You want to be able to choose an organization, association, a place where you can meet with people online, but you also can meet with them in person. And I want you to choose one location. And here's why that's so powerful. So I'll use me, for example. I'm a member and an ambassador for my local chamber. My local chamber has in-person meetings. They have in-person networking, they have in-person workshops, conferences, social events, but they also have a thriving online community. So when I'm being very active and going out into, networking events, in-person engagements, conferences, I'm meeting with people that are right in my backyard. They're interested in learning some of the same things that I'm interested in. They are investing in themselves because they are attending workshops and professional development. So we get to meet, we're meeting in person, but now if I meet that person and we get to have a conversation, now they get to see me in the online community. So the chamber has in-person events, but then the chamber also does virtual events, similar to what you're, watching and hanging out with us today. So in-person events, but then they also have an online community where you're sharing your wins. You are champion for someone else's wins. You are sharing resources. They see your face in that small profile bubble, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, and they get to recognize your name. So when I go to an in-person event, even if we haven't met before, they now recognize my face, and it makes the conversation that much more robust. It accelerates the know piece because they feel like they know me because I've been hanging out with them and cheering them online in the Facebook groups or in the LinkedIn comments. So you want an organization that is a local organization, in person, has an active local presence and online community. And this could be something where they have, even if it's just a presence online that that to the outside, it shows influence. They are actively engaged online. So take a pause for a sec, and what local organizations are you either a part of or can you be a part of that represents both of these? So for me, like I said, mine is the chamber. I am participating next week with the National Association of Women Business Owners. They do speed networking, but they also have an online community. So do a little bit of digging. And here's a quick tip. If you're not sure what that organization could be, go to Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite and search for your city plus networking, your city plus networking for women, your city plus networking for professionals. And you'd be amazed at the organizations that are going to pop out that can get you out in the community, get you out, sharing and chatting with your local influencers and learning where decisions are being made. So now secret number 2 is I want you to invest in an organization at the highest level possible. Maybe it's time, maybe it's dollars. So we talked about those organizations that you want to be a part of. And now we have to decide, okay, where am I going to spend my time? Where am I going to spend my dollars? And so I'm going to help you narrow down, because when you start to search, you might get overwhelmed because there's, a number of organizations you can join. But I want you to narrow down. I want you to narrow down to these 4 pillars. So there are 4 organizations that before we go to invest in it, whether it's time or whether it's dollars, 4 types of organizations that I want you to think about and want you to have in your back pocket. I want you to be engaged with. So one is that local organization that has a in-person and online community. Organization or place number 2 is you have to have a place where you are going to show up consistently or as your own platform. That doesn't mean that you have to go and create a new organization yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to create your own Facebook group, but it simply could be your Facebook platform. It simply could be your LinkedIn. Maybe it's a LinkedIn article that newsletter that you are actively promoting and actively showing up for. So number 3 organization is an organization that is a power player. This is the type of organization that carries weight in your industry or weight for your ideal clients. So an organization like that for some of you, let's say if you are a real estate agent or a real estate broker, in your community, there's probably a real estate based organization that the movers and shakers of real estate hang out in. It's not necessarily that they have your ideal client, but to your clients, they're like, yeah, she shows off her expertise. She's invested in these types of organization, a power player. And then the 4th type of organization that I want you to tune into is something fun. We do so much in our business. We do so much to grow our business, but something fun. That could be a charity that you believe in. It could be a volunteer organization. You sit on a board and dedicate your time. So 4 types of organizations that I want you to be a part of, right? Now we look at those 4. So again, we're not spreading ourselves super duper thin, but we want to be able to have 4 that we can invest in. One is our online platform, your Facebook page, maybe it's your LinkedIn newsletter, where you are showing up consistently. You're adding value. People know they can find you. They look for you on that platform. Maybe it's a podcast as well. The organization number 2 is the one we just talked about, one that has a local presence where they do in-person events as well as a thriving online community. Then the organization number 3 that you want to be a part of is a power player, place that has influence, where decisions are made, where you can rub elbows with the top of your class, if you want to call it that. Those organizations, you may not be the smartest in the room, but they have access. They give you access to influence. They give you access to new ideas. And then the 4th is something fun, something, your charity, your volunteer, maybe it's your church. Now that you have those 4, I want you to invest in those 4 organizations at the highest level that you have capacity for, from a time standpoint and from a dollar standpoint. So for example, I mentioned to you that I am in my local chamber. I'm an ambassador for the chamber. Being an ambassador for the chamber probably takes, I'll say maybe like 2 hours per month, on average. Some months, of course, it might be a little bit more if there's, events and stuff, but on average, about 2 hours per month. However, I'm also what we call a mogul member. As a mogul member, this gives me the opportunity to chat with the president of the chamber, to be able to look at programming and fill in gaps where I think that they may need speakers or may need more subject matters. It gives me more visibility because as a mogul member, I now have access to posts on an ongoing basis in that online community. I have access to be able to share through email newsletter. And when you invest at the highest level possible, either from a dollar standpoint or from a time standpoint, you now have the ear of that organization's head or the board or the president. And they want to make you happy. They want to make sure your needs are being met. They want to make sure that your ideas are being taken into consideration versus someone who is investing at the lowest level and your name is simply a name on a directory. They don't get to know you. They don't get to know your business. They don't get to know your expertise. They don't see you as the go-to person because you haven't invested a ton. And as a result, you're probably not showing up to a bunch of the activities because you're like, well, I paid my $100 and $150 for the year. I can miss that networking. I can miss that session. However, if you invest at the higher level, not only are you invested, and not only is the organization invested, but now you are showing up in a more powerful way. So 4 key pillars in those 4 organizations, I want you to invest at the highest level possible, either from a time or a dollar standpoint. So I'm going to pause here because I know that was a mouthful, and see if we have any questions in the chat. And if you don't have a question, tell me what organizations you are a part of.
We don't have any questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay.
Or the Q&A box. So yeah,
All right.
put those organizations that you're a part of into the chat.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Jenny. All right. So now secret number 3 is to continue the conversation on social. So I want you to imagine that you've been hanging out with your chamber or one of the associations that you picked. You go to a networking event. Realistically, when you get to that networking event, you're sitting at the bar, you're eating the chips and dip and your champagne. You're going to talk about your business some. You're going to talk about the things that you do some, but the odds of the very first time that you meet somebody in an in-person setting and then saying, hey, oh, by the way, I have a $4,000 or $5,000 retreat. Would you like to come? That person is probably going to be like, look, Shanel, like, I like you well enough, but we literally just met, right? They're going to tune me out from the rest of that conversation. Sometimes, quite honestly, that's what happens when we go to in-person events. We are so excited about what we do. We're so excited about, being able to meet new friends and meet new business besties that we hand them our business card and then hopes that we're going to seal the deal right then and there. Let's rethink that a little bit and rethink it in the way that when you're having conversations, when you are having, these moments where you get to know your audience, when you get to know the person sitting at the table next to you, when you get to, begin to start to follow them on social. I've been in conferences where we've sat, next to speakers next to the table, and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. What's going on in your world that you wanted to attend this particular conference? I see that you're on the speaker panel. What's going on in your world that you decided to speak on this particular topic? So now it opens up a conversation, but I don't just leave the conversation at the in-person piece, because again, I'm not going to sell them right then and there. We're getting to know each other. We're getting to like each other. We're getting to trust each other. Hey, Deanna, this is, been great, fantastic sitting next to you today at lunch. Where do you hang out online at? Oh, you hang out on LinkedIn? Right then and there, I pull out my phone. Instead of exchanging business cards, I pull out my phone and I go follow that person that I want to continue the conversation with on LinkedIn or wherever their platform is. Because remember, they told me where they hang out the most. So now I'm going to go follow them on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Right then and there, I'm going to make the connection and then send them a note. Hey, I'm connecting from, the SBDC workshop. Hey, I'm connecting from the Chambers GovCon. We met, we talked a little bit. Now let's take it up just a little bit of a notch, assuming that you're still sitting there, assuming that y'all are still engaging. Now I'm reading through her LinkedIn profile. And I'm like, oh, okay, Deanna, nice to meet you. I just connected with you on LinkedIn. I sent a notification, but they call you the collab queen. Tell me more about that. So now I can continue the conversation. Their social media is giving me clues to be able to engage, find out what they're passionate about, find out what they're interested in. But now we can continue that conversation through the DMs, through commenting on each other's pages, through cheering each other on. Because again, the very first time that I meet that person, they're not gonna, say, hey, this is the first time we met. We're both at the same conference. Oh, you have a $5,000 retreat. Let me swipe my card right this moment. No. But now we've engaged. We have this in-person conversation. I've connected with them on their platform of choice. now we start to, now they're starting to see my content. Now they are starting to see, what the why behind what I'm doing. Now they get to see my client testimonials. They get to hear more about the retreat that we didn't even talk about, in person. So now they're really starting to be involved in my world. So then the next networking meeting, the conversation can be a little bit, more targeted. It can be a little bit more, because I had this happen where people walk up to me and they're like, hey, like we met at the last, GovCon. I see you're out there, winning. Awesome job, with your retreats. Oh, okay. Well, what popped up, which part of the content that really resonated with you about the retreats? So you see how just being able to meet somebody, but then also be in places where not only are your clients that, but where you have access to new ideas and new opportunities, it makes that conversation a lot more rich. So let me take a look at the chat, because I thought that I saw a couple things pop through.
Yeah, we do have a couple of, so this person had a comment that they're looking to join the local Chamber of Commerce, but the struggle is time. Having a
Yes.
full-time job and then developing a side business, the struggle is time. So
Yeah. And the
do you
time
have
struggle
any,
is real.
yeah, do you have any recommendations for people who are in that scenario? And, are there ones of these organizations that you've been talking about, are there ones to prioritize over others potentially if your time is that limited?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So let me share a little bit more about, my experience. I share with you about Fire Savvy. Fire Savvy is, I work with clients all across the country, usually virtual, and then we do in-person events. In addition to Fire Savvy, my husband and I run a nonprofit 15-year-old track and field organization, a nonprofit. And with that organization, was started with 8 kids. We now work with over 300 annually, where literally 3-4 times a week, they're either kids in and out my house or I'm away at practice. I have 3 young adult, daughters who are in college, and one of them runs track. So, we're on the road being able to support them. So I say all that to say that I get the time piece. I get the time piece. And so when you're looking at kind of adding in those 4 organizations that I mentioned to you, think about what you want and what your end game is for, let's say like 90 days or 6 months, right? So I wanted you to imagine 6 months from now, what's that look like? So Rebecca said 2 full-time employees. Mr. B said, he hasn't started his business, but he's going to be networking. Jessica is building out her notary business. So you want to think about, when you join an organization, where is it going to get you to, the fastest? Do you want or need clients? We probably all do, right? But which part do we need clients fastest? Do we need an organization that represents our dream clients? Do we want an organization that's going to, lead us to more of our dream clients? Maybe they offer speaking opportunities. Maybe they offer workshops. If your business is not yet up and running like Mr. B, maybe your organization needs to be one that offers enough, of the fundamentals so that you are getting your business skills built up. So from a time perspective, Jessica, and for, many of us that are on here, yes, we are busy professionals. We are busy in our business. You might work a full-time job. You may be juggling family stuff, or, just decide, what, I want to be able to have a life. And so when I look at organizations, I look at, okay, my 6-month goal, what do I want to do right this moment? And which organization is going to get me there the fastest, the best. And so some of it might be a long game. Some of it you might be, those 4 pillars. So I'm involved with my chamber for, 2 hours or so a month, where I know that they have access to my dream clients. I know that I have influence. I know that I can, lead and be able to have visibility. But then the organization, like my charity, for example, I might only dedicate an hour a month, and for an hour, that might not seem like a lot, but to the organization, they appreciate that hour. So you want to be able to just really think about, okay, long term, over this, kind of period, What do I want? And so when you say developing your notary business, that leads me to think, okay, there's some foundational stuff that you might want access to. Maybe it's business building, maybe it is sales skills. So you want to be a part of an organization that's going to give you some of those fundamentals.
Thank you. We do have another question as well. We have someone who is in the insurance and financial services industry and wants to know if there are any recommendations that you have for organizations or professional groups for that industry for this person to join.
Yep. So there are probably two that I would think of from a industry standpoint. One, you want to be involved with something that is kind of more broad, right? And you want to be a part of an organization where you can be the unicorn, not a place where, you know, there are a bunch of, you know, people that do finance, there are a bunch of people that do insurance. You want to be in a place that where you're going to learn, you can give value, but you are probably one of few. And when I say being a unicorn, not necessarily that you want to be the only person that does insurance in the room, but that maybe that person does insurance for millennials, but you do insurance and you have a spin on it where you work with, you know, divorced women, for example. So now you're super clear in your niche, you're super clear in your ideal client, but you can show up and stand out in that organization because you're the only person that's doing what you do, how you do it. So your organization, you know, it might be a chamber, maybe it's the National Association of Women's Business Owners, you know, think about, again, who your dream client is and where they may hang out. It will kind of direct you. The next type of organization, if I were in finance or insurance, I would join and make sure that I'm tapped into my industry or my industry-led associations, where I can show off my influence, I can show off my expertise. But now, as a potential client of yours, when I see that you are engaged with that type of organization, when I see that you are invested in your expertise, that you are doing career development and professional development and taking your continuing education seriously, I'm like, yeah, that's somebody that I want to work with, not somebody that just picked up insurance on the side. No, you're invested in it. And how you show that you're invested in it is being a part of a power play type organization. Again, a power play organization, you may not necessarily find your dream client there, but what it does is it either builds your business with new ideas, new access, new information, or it gives you access to more of those dream clients in one way or another. So hopefully that helped you. And feel free, if you have other questions, to drop them in as well.
Thanks for those answers, Shanel. Those were great. So continue on. We caught both questions.
Cool. All right. So let me go back. So yeah, so now we're going to continue that conversation on social. So if I'm in the insurance, room, I'm in the industry space. Hey, what other conferences are you attending? Oh, okay. So now again, it's not just, okay, well, I'm only here only to get clients. I'm here to share ideas. I'm here to be able to, to meet with other influencers in my industry. So thanks for those questions. So we're going to continue the conversation on social. So just a really, really quick recap. Secret number one is the first one. If you don't choose anything else, choose a local organization that has an active local presence and an online community. Secret number two is, now that you know those 4 organizations that we talked about, invest in at least one. I would love for you to walk away with 4, but at least one of those. Invest at the highest level from a time standpoint and from a money standpoint. And remember, one of those was your own online platform. So as you're doing this, the goal is for you to increase your social media audience, because now you have a place where people know to go find you, where you're adding value. And then the third thing is to continue that conversation on social. So I know it seems like, when you look at 4 organizations and invest in time, invest in effort. But I want to go back to what you said that you wanted to be celebrating 6 months from now. Is it jump starting your notary business? Is it, really getting the business basics down so your auto parts business can be up and running? Are you, looking as, you want to build your insurance and your financial services practice? These things have literally taken my business from a place where I was like, revenue ceiling. I'm talking to the same person over and over and over again. I want more Deannas in my life. I want more of those, high level clients in my life, to being able to show up from honestly 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a month, and literally in a 90-day period have added over 6 figures in revenue just by being active and engaged with in-person, and being able to marry that in-person know, like, and now we're building that trust online. What does that look like for you? 6 months from now, even if you just added in one of these, organizations, and being able to create that social media conversation, what would that look like for you? So I want you to chop in the chat. I want to do better, actually, and then we're going to take some questions. So I want to know, what's one idea that you're going to implement today to become a local superstar? I want you to scan this QR code. I would love to be able to know, what's that one idea you're going to implement today to be a local superstar? And then we'll come up with some ideas on how to be able to get that done. So let me peek at the chats. I saw some things coming through. Starting the cookie business. Oh, love that. Look, a cookie business, that is cool. So cookie business, can you please suggest association I should join? Looking at Chamber of Commerce, Facebook groups, you want to start your B2C and then move towards B2B. I love this. So if your end game, your future goal is B2B, you want to be able to be in organizations that have that audience. Consumers, you're going to, have that automatically. I'll say, I don't know if you're doing a brick and mortar, but you're going to make the connections from a consumer standpoint. That's probably, I would say, the easiest, but your biggest bang is going to be your B2B. So now you want to think about organizations that represent other businesses, or that represent businesses who have ideas and access to other businesses who buy cookies. So this might be law firms, for example, because they send gifts to their clients all the time. This might be CPA firms, because at the end of the year, even though everybody always say that, they're cheap, I can say that because I'm a former CPA myself. I have an accounting and finance background, but CPA firms, they send nice gifts to their clients. Real estate agents, when they open up their homes to, whether they're doing open houses or they send thank you gifts to someone who just purchased from them or sold from them, they send gifts. So now that you've kind of narrowed down, and those are just a couple of ideas, but best your product and who you want to serve. So now that you think about, okay, who are the businesses that I could be involved with? However, I want to be the unicorn in the space. So let's just go with the real estate example. In your area, in your local area, I'm certain of it, there are real estate meetings that are happening probably right now as we speak, literally, right? At least once or twice a month, real estate agents are getting together and they are either investing in themselves with new ideas and new knowledge. They are, getting together and sharing ideas with each other. But what's not there is somebody that gives them ideas on really cool client gifts. I promise you, there's not a business in the real estate room where cookies are being discussed. So now when you think about the organizations that you want to be a part of, and then the businesses you want to work with, you'll be a unicorn in that space. You look at, law firms, for example, there are probably law, related associations where they're meeting on an ongoing basis. They're bringing in somebody and speakers that talk about continuing education and the new ideas. But what doesn't happen is that they're thinking about, at the end of the year, wow, I need to send my client something. I need a new idea in order to do that. So, Catherine, I would think, a chamber would probably be a great opportunity for you because you're working with other businesses. But then I will also think a little bit more like strategic from an industry standpoint. What type of businesses actually send out gifts in large amounts and they're too busy to think about it. So now you are not only providing them a product, but you're taking time off of their schedule so they don't have to run around and think about that. So Sarah wants to do rebrands for merger and acquisitions. Tell me a little bit, rebrands, I'm assuming maybe you're meaning like branding and marketing assets. But if that's not what you're talking about, let me know. Yes, branding and marketing assets. So if you want to do branding and marketing assets for companies that are in transition, companies that are, going through mergers and acquisitions, now you got to do a little bit of research and get a feel for, okay, that type of organization, companies that are going through mergers and acquisitions, are there industry associations that they go to for information? Because a chamber may be great from a networking standpoint, but you now got to get a little bit more targeted. So tech, for example, tech companies go through merger and acquisitions, service-based opportunities. Are there lists that you can be a part of where if somebody is interested in a merger and acquisition? What comes to mind also for somebody that you want to work with could be financial services. But if you are in financial services or like an accounting type department who specializes in merger and acquisitions, accountants that lead and attorneys that lead companies through that, what they don't do? They don't do branding. They don't do branding. They don't do marketing assets. And so when we look at these organizations, sometimes it's about being in the room with our dream clients where we can stand up, pitch ourselves, and clients are going to gravitate towards us. But sometimes it's about thinking about our clients and what their journey is. So from a merger and acquisition standpoint, if I were going through a merger and acquisition, what other types of organizations or experts would I bring on my team? Lawyers, accountants, probably some type of software support team. So now not only am I looking for the client, but now I might want to partner with somebody that's in my client's journey, because now we serve the same client, but we serve them in a different way. So Sarah, hope that makes sense for you.
Yes. So I just want to invite people, we have a few more minutes here. So this is a chance to brainstorm with Shanel. So I really invite you to take up the opportunity to do that right now. So put in the chat or the Q&A box something that you'd like to brainstorm with Shanel on this topic. And it's great. Thank you for being here and offering this ability today, Shanel. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I do want to remind everyone, I did put in the chat earlier a link for our NYSBDC centers. So we have 20 different centers around the state, and they can also be a resource in helping you become aware of organizations in your area, things that might be opportunities for you, these different types of organizations. So because they are embedded in local communities, they have their finger on the pulse of what's going on business-wise in their area. So we're a fantastic resource as well for helping business owners who are figuring out how to take a next step and what resources are available to them. So do check out in the chat that we've got that link where you can go and find the center nearest you, and then go to that center's page and get free advising services. Since we are a government-funded program, we are able to offer our services, which are high quality but no cost.
Awesome.
All right. We've got some more.
Huge opportunity. And before we jump off, if you are super active on your LinkedIn or your Facebook, take a screenshot. I'm assuming, let me ask Jenny's permission first, but just share, hey, I attended, the New York SBDC, event, and this is what I walked away with. And make sure you tag that organization, make sure you tag SBDC, because one, they want that feedback, but also now you are boosting up their social media feed. And so when an organization is like, hey, like Shanel just tagged me, guess what they're going to do? They're going to reshare it to their, audience is likely larger and bigger than mine and has influence. Let's see, joined a local organization, wasn't the right audience. I have been there. I'll share with you some tips. How do I know which local organization is a fit? Project management consulting. So from a organizational standpoint, think of your dream client and think of, who your client works with along the journey. When I'm thinking about joining an organization, but I'm not quite sure. So there is a organization right now that specializes in real estate. And, I work with clients who, have these, high end or high ticket services, but they want to improve their sales skills, right? So I'm looking at a real estate organization I want to be a part of, but I don't know if they're a good fit for me. The best way and the easiest way that I would recommend before you jump right on in and, become that mogul member or ambassador for the organization, go to a couple of events. Maybe you go to a in-person event, the networking type thing or whatever. The networking is usually the best because now that's going to bring people out because everybody wants to meet new people, right? They always want to network. So I'll go to like a networking event, just even if it's a virtual, sometimes like National Association of Women Business Owners, for example, they do virtual coffee chats. Right. And so they do in person, they also do virtual. So go to a few of those events to see, okay, are these people that are my people? Can I learn from this organization? Can I add value here before jumping all in, with $1,000, mogul membership? Start to, test the waters a little bit. Go to one of their, social events to get a feel for, okay, do these people, are they people I want to have dinner with? Do I want to hang out at the bar with them? Or go to one of their networking events. Usually if you're a non-member, you can go to the events. You might pay a little bit more in your ticket rate, but it saves you the time and headache from being a part of an organization you don't necessarily align with or you want to be a part of. Let's see, advice for narrowing the scope of services we specialize in. We're looking to support other small business navigate the federal space and maintain compliance. Yes, there are so many challenges. There's challenges and channels. So Becca, so what I would suggest doing when you're narrowing down the scope of services that you specialize in, sometimes we think giving the kitchen sink is great because we're like, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can do blah, 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 blah. I mentioned to you very briefly that I'm a former CPA with an accounting and finance background. I don't talk about that at all because it confuses your client once you start offering so many different services, right? And so think about who you want to work with. Is it somebody that is brand spanking new in business and they want to start doing federal contracts? Is it somebody that's already in the commercial contract space and that now they want to add in federal contracts? You got to do a little bit of research to see, okay, who do I want to work with? Okay, so now this is who I want to work with. What is currently going on in their world that federal contracts make sense for them? And then be able to start looking at, okay, this is the type of client. Here are the types of things that they usually need in their arsenal before they would come to me. So think about what's kind of going on in their world, but also think about what they've achieved already that makes federal contracts so attractive. Somebody that comes to you brand spanking new in business and like, well, I want to work in government because I hear it's a lot of money there, is probably not the same person who's like, you know what, I built a successful business with commercial contracts. Now I want to add in federal to diversify my revenue. Those are two separate people, but they also have two separate needs. And so if you start to kind of just think about who do you want to work with, what's going on in their world that federal contracts make sense, but what have they already done, then that helps you kind of narrow down the services that you want to be able to offer. And then Catherine says she started her cookie business at home, got a license, yay. Different ways for people to try the cookies prior to selling it. So chambers are great for this. Chambers hire out and they like to be able to support their own members. And so the chamber could be one idea. It could be another organization that you're a part of that has like a directory type component. But, even just I've gone to meetings and a local baker had just made little sample size. I think she wasn't a baker. She did popcorn, but she had little sample size popcorn. And that was in lieu of her business card. little sample bag of popcorn stapled to a business card. So now obviously that's a conversation starter, but it's a way for you to get feedback from people that aren't your friends and family or coworkers before you starting to sell it.
Love that idea. We did have someone ask if I would reshare that link, so I did drop it in the chat
Cool.
again. So it's there toward the bottom of your chat now if you wanted that link for our NYSBDC centers.
Awesome.
All
As we're
right.
rounding out and sharing links, I'll share this one just again. So if you want the full version of the slides, if you want to be able to share one idea that you're going to implement today, I don't want you to wait for next week. Remember, we said 6 months from now, 6 months starts today. So what's one idea you're going to implement today to become a local superstar? If you scan this barcode, not only would I appreciate the feedback, but you'll also have access to the full version of the slides, the local superstar framework that goes further in depth into, okay, here are the organizations, but now how do I create that content to be able to continue the conversation?
Excellent. And so as we wrap up today, I do want to make our attendees aware. We also have a survey that pops up at the end of the webinar. So if you would like to leave us here at the NYSBDC some feedback on today's session and what else you would like to see in future sessions from the NYSBDC, we always love to hear from our attendees and get that feedback that, we want to make sure that we're providing what you need. And to do that, we need to hear from you. So we appreciate that. All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap up for today then. Shanel, thank you for all of these strategies today and for brainstorming with our attendees. And oh, we did have somebody come in here at the last minute. So do you have a minute more to answer one more question? All right. Okay, so narrowing your ideal client for for service notary work. And so they say that it's very broad and they want to eventually go B2B. So what do you have for this attendee today?
Yeah, so Jessica, I would think about what businesses use notaries on repeat. First thing that comes to mind are attorneys. The next thing that comes to mind are like mortgage companies, real estate agents. And so I think I was sharing, I don't recall who I gave the real estate advice to, but when you think about your client, that B2B client, think about where are they stuck at? They probably get very burned out from looking on Google and finding notaries and then have to do that over and over and over again. So I would think about one, narrowing down your ideal client based on who uses notary service on repeat, so that there's somebody that where you can be the go-to person. So like I said, attorneys, usually use them on an ongoing basis. Real estate agents, mortgage companies, those are some places that I would start. And being able to see where do they hang out at? Where do the real estates in my area hang out at? Where do they, where are they meeting? Where are they networking? So that you can now be in the room with the companies and the businesses that are using your services on an ongoing basis.
All right. There have been many thanks that have come in the chat throughout the session, Shanel, and I don't know if you've been able to catch them all as you've been talking, but I know everybody has really appreciated the brainstorming, and we love it when we have great attendee questions and a presenter who's willing to answer them in the detail that you have. This has been fantastic.
Awesome.
All right. Well, have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. We appreciate you all. And a special thanks to Shanel and then also Deana Jean for joining us today. Bye-bye now.
See you online soon.